Here's part 2 of chapter 14, and this slide really picks up at the end of chapter 13, when we talked about the different types of immunity, whether immunity is passive or active. And with this chapter, we're talking about vaccines. And so vaccine induction, the use of vaccines, is going to induce artificial immunity of some sort. All right, so vaccines can be injected, they can be inhaled, and even ingested, and that promotes your immune system to respond to whatever material is in that vaccine. So the vaccine can consist of different components of whatever it is that you want to have immunity against. And there's different types or categories of vaccines based on what that material is. So you'll see in the first group it is weakened microbes, right? So attenuated means it can still get inside of you and replicate, but it no longer causes disease. There is fragments of the microbe, so a piece of the microbe that would be present on the microbe surface if that microbe were to get inside of you. And so your immune system can respond to that fragment as if it were part of the microbe, and then respond against the microbe if it ever invaded the body. All right, there can be isolated inactivated toxin, and this would be very similar in kind of concept to that fragment of the microbe. Right, it's whatever the actual material is, it's going to cause disease, and your immune system can respond against the inactivated form of the toxin, such that in case the active form of the toxin got in you, you would be protected. All right, then there's also ways to genetically manufacture portions of the microbe. This can be in E. coli cells if you allow for through biotechnology, you can add DNA to a different cell and allow that cell to make the protein and then extract that protein, and that can be used as the immunogen, that component that's going to stimulate the immune system. All right, now vaccines do not provide immediate protection. All right, so remember that primary response, there's that lag time. All right, just like with the growth of bacteria cells, and you make that line, the bottom of the curve there is going to be flat for a little while. And that's during the time where your immune system is trying to figure things out, recognizing the foreign material, and then causing amplification and proliferation of those specific cells. So it takes about 2 weeks for antibody levels to reach a peak. All right, so prior to those 2 weeks, after 4 or 5 days, there could be measurable antibody, all right, but it's just going to be kind of low. And it takes a while for that number to peak. All right, and hopefully vaccines will stimulate immunological memory so that, again, if you were to come into contact with a real microbe, then your B cells and T cells would be there ready to go, fully matured and ready to attack the real antigen. All right, there's also on this title here, we've got herd immunity and immunization. Vaccination, the process of vaccination, having a risk to a person is actually quite low, right? Sometimes people are allergic to different components in the vaccines. So if vaccines are manufactured in eggs, right, egg shells, or the interior of the egg, right, the vaccine might actually have parts of egg attached to it. And so if a person has an egg allergy, which that is a known allergy, all right, then they shouldn't have that vaccine, because then that would induce a response against the egg. Some vaccines are not recommended for different groups, patient groups. All right, so pregnant women, if they are given an attenuated, a live virus, All right, sometimes those viruses can move across the placenta, and it could actually cause damage to that developing fetus. All right, if you are immunocompromised, meaning your immune system is severely depressed, all right, giving a vaccine, again, that live vaccine, all right, your immune system can't actually fight it. And the purpose of the live vaccine is to actually make your immune system do something. That live vaccine does give the potential for that material, that microbe, the virus, the bacteria, whatever it is, to actually expand in number as if it were a real infection, while your immune system actually fights it off. Now with this herd immunity, all right, the herd immunity actually comes from, herds of animals, cows, cattle, and we'll look at picture here, all right, where in this first box here, the red person gets infected. No one else, the green guys, do not have any immunity. And so what happens? Well, these guys are not protected, and the red guy can spread his or her germs to everyone else in the population. So you have a large group of that population where the disease spreads and people become sick. All right, we'll jump down to this place here where most people are immunized. So those are the blue guys. And one person in the group gets infected because they weren't immunized, and the people right around the sick person are immunized. So even though he's sick, he can't actually spread his germs. And even though there's only one dude who isn't vaccinated, right, because there's so many other people who are vaccinated, it's hard for the microbes to spread, and it's actually less likely that this one person would become infected. All right, here, just a few are immunized, but what you'll notice is that the green dudes are closer to the red dude. And so the infection will actually spread here, and then this person is infected, and it just allows for more people to be infected, and actually only one person doesn't get sick. All right, so that's not a good case. But down here, you have the majority of the group who are vaccinated, and so that is a protective factor against the one person who is not vaccinated, and that person is safe. And so that's why it's called herd immunity, again, because it's dealing with populations. All right, humans are not cows, all right, but that's where the idea came from. You can vaccinate a whole group of cows, and if 2 or 3 out of 100 are not vaccinated, one gets sick, right? What's the likelihood that the 2 other cows that weren't vaccinated are right next to that one cow that got sick? All right, not likely. But that's where the term comes from. And this is what's, really what the medical profession and public health people are hoping for, is that most people within a population are going to be vaccinated, and then if one person comes in who is sick, everyone is protected. All right, and I don't know, there's some skinny people and some not so skinny people looking at the picture, so I don't know what that's supposed to represent, or if it's just a typo. But over here, all right, you've got protects premature babies and immunocompromised patients, as well as possibly even the pregnant women here. If this is an immunocompromised person, they really have to rely on other people around them not getting sick. And this person can't be vaccinated because of their immune system, whatever the scenario is. But if they are surrounded by people who are vaccinated, these people can help protect the green dude from the germs from the red dude. All right, why? Because then the blue guys don't get the virus and don't get close. Then the virus or the microbe doesn't get close to the green guy. All right, so most pathogens require vaccination of approximately 85% of the population to have effective herd immunity. Okay, but it really does depend on the microbe. So with measles and whooping cough, this requires 95% vaccination rates for herd immunity to be effective. And if any of you are watching the news, you'll know that measles is a major issue right now. Why is that? Well, it's because there's actually quite a bit of the population who are not vaccinated. In one of the counties in Washington last month that made the news, it was estimated that only like 25% of the people in that county were vaccinated. All right, well below that 95% rate. So anyone who can be vaccinated should be vaccinated, right? Because that herd immunity protects the most vulnerable people. And again, that's what public health immunization initiatives try to do, is to create that herd immunity. If you can't get all 100,000, well, if you can get 99,500, then that greatly minimizes the risk of spreading disease. All right, so there's different kinds of vaccines. All right, mentioned that just a few slides ago, the attenuated vaccines. Active virus or live bacteria that has been rendered non-pathogenic. We've got some examples here. And then the subunit vaccines, a portion of the pathogen is used. All right, so this could be a surface protein. Purified subunit vaccines, all right, purified part of the pathogen. Some examples, and toxoid vaccines. There's also what are called conjugate vaccines, where the actual antigen may not be very immunogenic, but you tag it to, link it to the conjugate, and that allows for a better immune response. All right, and that's where we'll stop for part 2.